Okay.
So, hello everyone. Welcome back to wonderful Ashala Yardley, who so generously agreed to be more frequent guest and allow me to ask even more questions. But
I love your questions, Anya. I love your questions.
Yeah, thank you. So, but before we start, I would like you to join my mailing list. The link is below. Also, support Ashala and my channel. Subscribe to our channels if the content resonates with you. Otherwise, no. But if it does, please. But what I would like to start today with is something that is actually in regard of the day, and that is 11/11, because this is the date. So numbers and symbols. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So number 11/11, and actually when I added all the numbers from the date, it came to number 9. So pretty good day, and I could feel this energy from the very morning when I woke up. I would like to ask Ashala what this 11/11 represents for you. How do you read that alignment?
Okay. Well, to me, in what I know of numerology, the 11 is 2 ones. So it actually, if you minimize it, it turns into a 2. If you add the 2 ones together, the 1 is like the present moment. It's the ego, it's the identity, it's the self, it's the beginning of something, creation and unification. And then the 2 is like the polarity, the opposite. It's the attraction and repulsion. And so when we have 2 ones together, I always see any number doubled is it's trying to master itself, or it is learning mastery. So if we think of 2 ones, what are we mastering? We're mastering ourselves. We're mastering our direction. We're mastering our ego. We are mastering, and we're doing it through our connection with another. So because it's the 2 ones. Yes. So we reflect and we respond and we learn and grow by relationship with something else. So that's how I see the 11. It's mastery, and it's the mastery that starts with yourself. And that's why when you see 11s everywhere, it's like spirit is calling you to wake up and be present with yourself and notice what's going on in the moment, in the day, in the hour that you look at the clock and see the 11s. It's an invitation.
So this is so great, because 2 things. When I was preparing to ask you this question, I actually remembered that once ago, several years ago, I downloaded a book on Kindle when I was traveling, and it's titled Angels' Numbers. And so I went, because to me, it's a clear communication with angels. Every time I see alignment, it doesn't have to be the same number. It can be like mirrored, or I just like they are talking to me. That's how I actually receive it. However, I went to see what this person said about 11, just 11, right? And it says, you are in a state of expansion and getting to know your true self better than ever. And then, my first chapter in my book, 44 Becoming Self, actually I have it here. So in this book, I remember some chapters by heart, because I was writing them in my head and then like walking and editing. So it starts like this. A gold number 11 shines on the top of green door. That's where they live. And this is the place where I was born, under the apartment number 11. Wow. So yeah, and actually, where I live right now, when you add the numbers, it is 11.
Aha. And my birthday, I was born on the 29th. And when you add the 2 and the 9, that's an 11.
You see.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now symbols.
You mentioned, I just want to go to, because you also mentioned that something about today adding up to a 9.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. The whole date when we add the numbers.
Right. So the 9 is what I see and understand about the 9 is it's a synthesis. It's like gathering, because it's the last number of single digits before we start the cycle again with the 10, which is the 1 and the 0. So this synthesis is gathering from all the experience, pulling everything together. So that's what today is.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now let's clarify something that happened after our last conversations, and this is in regard of the symbols. So when I talked to Ashala in our last video, someone posted a comment that that person would be interested in the reading with Ashala, which, by the way, if you want to have a reading with Ashala, the best way is to reach through your website, right, to you.
Yeah, we'll provide a link below with the booking yes. page.
Okay, so that person was very interested in the reading. However, she mentioned that the name of Ashala's website wasn't resonating with her. And Ashala, please, can you explain what is the story?
Wonderful. Thank you, Anya, for asking me this, because I think people, excuse me, I think people are getting a little bit confused when they go onto my website. It's called Eye of the World, and it has what looks like the Egyptian all-seeing eye on it. I want to explain, first of all, when we're talking about these symbols, that many of these symbols have been co-opted by the power broking controllers over the last couple of thousand years. In their ancient original form, they come from, mystical cultures from antiquity, and they have incredible, beautiful energy around them, many of them, but they were basically turned into something else. And we see that with so many symbols. I mean, if you look into the history of all these symbols that are used by the controlling manipulative forces, you basically nothing is untouched. Anything that had any potency has been turned into something else.
Where was the power was twisted. Whatever
exactly.
The power, yep.
Whatever had power. So in a way, if we cut ourselves off from symbols in general, because they're all dangerous and have been, co-opted into this force, well, then we're losing the beautiful connection with the deeper meaning. Like, the swastika is a great example of that, because it was originally a beautiful symbol of the wheel of the year and the cycles of growth in harmony with nature.
Wow.
And unfortunately, that was turned into something else. So with this all-seeing eye, what I like to say is it's actually, first of all, there were originally two eyes in Egypt, the eye of Ra and the eye of Mat, and they represented the masculine and the feminine. And eventually the eye of Ra was preserved and the eye of Mat was no longer acknowledged. So when we look at the Egyptian eye, what we often see is the eye of Ra. So the feminine part was kind of, faded into the background. And what I did, because this was like about 15 years ago, and I was really working on integrating polarities, masculine and feminine, balancing the brain hemispheres and working on that unification of those polarities. And so I actually had a graphic designer blend the eye of Ra and the eye of Mat to make a one eye that is actually not all seeing, but all observing, which is very different. It's about being present and acknowledging both sides, the masculine and the feminine. It's not about like spying on people or having power over. It's actually an integrative experience. So I hope that clarifies things for people a little bit.
Okay. So let's get to my questions now.
Yes, let's do that. Thank you.
Yes. So this is a little bit different today.
Okay.
Because I will start with something that just very recently took place in Scotland. I'm gonna touch the link, so those of you guys who are watching and are interested, if your city is on the list of this, C40 cities, which is a global network of mayors taking urgent action to confront the climate crisis and create a future where everyone can thrive. What is this? This is the smart cities concept.
Right.
Here we go, everybody. Now, this meeting took place in Scotland. The mayors came, many places actually, I can see they're like scrolling here, Austin, Mexico City, Houston, Miami, Vancouver, of course, Los Angeles, of course, Seattle, Paris and Rome, and one of my favorite places on earth, London, etc., etc., etc. So my first question is this. What's gonna happen to this agenda? Because as we can see, especially, in the United States here, what they are doing to those cities, New York, I mean, we see it, right? So if you can please tell us, Ashala, what is the future of this agenda? And yeah, where it will go.
I love this question.
Thank you.
So much, because to me, there's a glaringly obvious flaw. We all agree that things need to change. We all agree that our connection with the earth is damaged and that it needs to be repaired in some way. But what we don't agree on, or what we're not willing to just be drawn into an agenda, that's the way to do it. They're basically saying how we're going to clean this mess up is we're going to put people in like a little fishbowl.
Yeah, we're gonna create China in every of those cities.
We're going to basically put people in a fishbowl so they can't harm the environment anymore. Okay. Now, operating on the premise that we ended up harming the environment so desperately and devastatingly because why? We were disconnected from the earth.
Yeah.
So does it make sense to disconnect us further in order to fix the problem that came from disconnection in the first place? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We used to live, our ancient ancestors used to live in harmony with the earth. And I believe that they actually, from what I've understood from archaeological research, they actually restored harmony in many parts of the world. A lot of these indigenous groups, they planted ecosystems that thrive for tens of thousands of years. A lot of the beauty on the planet was not just nature doing its thing, but it was the cooperative interaction of really healthy, integrated human culture and the natural world. For whatever reason, that was disrupted. Natural disasters, outside influences coming in and wanting to dominate on this planet, whatever it was, that connection was severed. And from that time onwards, we've been living like, refugees on our own planet. And naturally, we're just taking, we're not in a good harmonic relationship with
nature,
Earth.
right, Ashala? We were fighting the nature.
We're fighting nature. Yeah. Exactly. Just taking what we can get, because we're in this survival mode for really a long time, like as long as 9,000 years, we've been in that mode. So what we're seeing, how does it make sense by disconnecting us further, we're going to come into some harmonic relationship with Earth? That doesn't make sense to me. So again, you know, what they're doing with this agenda is they're getting us all worked up, emotionally drawing us in, like, don't you want to heal the planet? Aren't we ready to stop damaging the earth? Of course we are. Like, you know, duh. Like, of course we are, right? But are we going to do it the way, like, that continues down this path of disconnection? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. How can that turn into anything sustainably good? We're going to just get more and more and more removed from this earth that, in order to be in biological form as a carbon-based life form, we need to have connection with this planet somehow.
Yes.
So basically they're pulling the plug further and further away from our natural resonance with this planet. I don't think that's what our planet wants. And I know for sure my version of humanity, that's not what I want. So what is the alternative? That is to actually reconnect with Earth in a meaningful way. You know, you think of something like the Anastasia books, the Rainy Cedar series from Russia, where, you know, all of these people connecting with the earth in a meaningful way. I mean, yes, Russia is a communist country, but this wasn't a communist agenda. This was actually a grassroots, you know, phenomena, which was people gardening and connecting with the earth. This is the kind of thing that, regardless of what these power brokers are trying to, whatever game they've got going on in the surface, our grassroots reconnection is our greatest way. Like they say, you know, just planting 1 million trees would change global warming. That's not putting us in smart cities.
Right.
You know, so, that's the opposite of that.
But like, will those cities come to be functioning? Like, will they actually create something of that?
Well, I watched this documentary years ago about smart cities in China, and I was so disturbed.
Horrible.
I was absolutely, it was just like,
that's what they want. But Ashala, that's what they want.
I know. So I remember talking to my younger daughter, who's just phenomenally wise. And I was saying, you know, I just can't even fathom this. And I don't want to be part of anything to do with this. And she said, you know, Mom, there's people that have come here and that's what they came here to learn. And she said, I think some people will choose this. It's part of their karmic growth. And so there may be a small amount of that, and that's what this is showing. You know, there may be some of that. Like, if they've got this big agenda to do this all over the world, I don't think even half of it is going to come into fruition, but there will be a small percentage, like maybe 30% or 40% at the most, the Three of Swords, the Four of Pentacles, that will possibly, I mean, that's possible. But meanwhile, the rest of us are getting to the business of reconnecting in our own way. And there's so many options of how we can do that. It's like, you know, if they're saying turn left, then turn right.
Yeah, do opposite. Do the opposite.
Do opposite. Yeah, kind of like that's what they do, right? Like they turn everything around. Well, if they're saying, you know, disconnect further and like rely on us, and basically we want to reconnect in a more deep and meaningful way, is what I'm getting.
Some cities might be actually experiencing this, like New York.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to go as big scale as what they're visioning and planning, because I think by the time it gets to that point, which feels like somewhere around 3 to 4 years from now, they're going to start enacting it within the next couple of years. But I feel like by the time it gets to that point, we will have so much of the alternative underway that people are going to be like, why would I want to do that when I could be doing this? Yeah.
So they will lose the power to that point that, because it's really, this is the power, this is the money and the power. That's where
Exactly. And it's really the ideal lifestyle for more fearful people. If you're really anxious and you feel very you're very anxious and you feel disempowered and you feel your ego is really triggered by the unknown, then that's going to feel comfortable and right for you. For those of us where our passions and our, our deep spiritual inspiration and our courage is stronger than our anxiety,
freedom.
And our freedom, if that is a stronger motivation for us than our anxieties and our desire for security, it's obvious we're going to make different choices, and we're already doing that. And there will be growing alternatives to this that are also less harmful to the planet, more about, and this has been going on, I mean, really since the back to the land freedom movement of the 60s with the hippies, like that's in, that wave has never really stopped. And now it isn't highly, advertised the way these smart cities and the global agenda is, but there's so much of this going on all over the planet, like beautiful revivals.
You're right. They just don't talk about it intentionally. You're right.
Yeah.
So true.
So there we go.
So let me move myself because I feel like the sun is shining, which is great, but it's a little too much. So I have a very modest setup, everyone. So this is real. I'm gonna move myself.
Beautiful.
Maybe avoiding a little bit. Oh, okay. Try it this way.
Yeah.
So
good.
My next question is about, let's go softer because I have the bomb at the end.
Okay.
So the soft question is about gold.
Okay.
I would like to know, within the next, let's say 12 months, a year, what's gonna happen to gold?
Okay, so according to what I'm drawing here, we're looking at, I asked 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. 3 months, 8 of Wands, rising, a lot of growth. It's 8 of Wands is like swiftness. It's a lot of energy, manifestation of energy. 6 months, the 5 of Swords. A dip, temporary downturn. 9 months, protecting. This is 4 of Cups. So it's like sort of surrounding this whole growth with a kind of a protection. So people might be like backing off a bit. And then 12 months, it's growing again. So it seems like it might go through a little dip around 6 months, recover a bit around 9 months, and start really growing again around 1 year.
Because they cannot stop this anymore.
No, so it's going to it will do its thing based on whatever's going to happen economically, which gives us a bit of an indication. We keep seeing this projected economic, I'm not even going to use that C word, changes, big changes, that we can use that C word. It was like, prophecy that it was going to be this fall and then into the later fall.
And no one knows. No one knows. No one knows.
Now I'm getting still the gold is strong for another 3 months. So strong and rising. And then I get around 6 months, possibly, right? Possibly there could be a decline. So it's important to keep checking in about these things. Just because I said it right now doesn't mean 3 months from now this is going to be the case. But right now it's like a weather forecast. You see the forecast for next week. It's like it might change, but it gives us some idea. So yeah, in about 6 months we could see a drop. And then there's a slow kind of recovery of that. And then around a year, Ace of Swords, a new burst.
Yes.
So
can you do one more check, Ashala? Because I've listened to lately. I've listened a lot to experts actually in this field who have been predicting for a very long time, and they were accurate. And one of them, Jim Rickards, he's like really knowledgeable and respected in that field. He says that it will be minimum 15,000 by 2025, which we have like what, 4 years? 1 ounce?
Yeah, I get a yes for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Because it's like, and you remember when we talked before we started recording about something else? Like, it's like a plateau, then it goes down, then it goes to, and then it's like, you can't stop it.
That's right. That's right. And I've been saying, because people, you know, my clients have been asking me lots of questions about finance and gold and silver and so on. And I've been saying that gold will hold its own and continue to grow incrementally and more robust as time goes on. It will potentially go through these highs and lows, but like you said, they're not going to be able to stop it.
No.
That's what I really get about gold. Silver, I get there's more fluctuation. There's more, there is, what I get with silver is it's easy to trade with, and it is also, it just feels like it doesn't necessarily, it might go through more highs and lows, big ups and downs. But one thing that is good with silver is that we'll always be able to trade it. It's, you know, it can be used as currency more easily.
Mm-hmm. But in a way. Still, either way, it's something to really, really get into your, how they say, portfolio, just into your possession. Definitely. I say, because you know, cash is important too, but the value of the dollar, because dollar is, this is all change, and we're not just talking dollar, this is every currency, euro, every currency will go through this transition. So absolutely.
Absolutely. But I love saying this, like you were saying about what the experts are saying. I totally agree.
He's he's been accurate so much. You know, if you look at this, like how much gold has gained, because there is like a system, it's almost like a pattern. Yeah, there is a pattern. Like in universes, there is a pattern. So is with gold. Yeah, and there's a repetition of certain cycles in the history. And this is unprecedented time right now. So the level of intensity, so everything can be whatever they predict and more.
Yes, yes. And I don't really get that drop that I saw in about 6 months' time. I don't get it's going to be significant, but I get that people will possibly panic.
Ah, yeah. So, and then they sell it. Yeah.
Right.
And this is the worst moment to sell.
Yes. So just be aware of that, folks.
Yes. Okay. So my next question is, since like I mentioned before, Tori, I follow her. This is the only person actually I follow as far as what's happening behind the curtain. Now, very, very much likely, the special election will take place in March next year. Because what's happening, a lot of people don't know because it's not reported and it's all of this like underground, but there's so much going on. So where this is heading now, it might be very possible there will be a special election in 2022, which means that by the end of next year, we are in very different political reality. So I would like to know if this is the case, that special election will happen on March 4th. Okay, we might not have to use the 4th because maybe cards don't say 4th. So in March 2022.
Okay, well, I get that the idea is on the table.
Oh.
You know, I get there's the offer, there's a willingness, there's a consideration of this. And when I ask, you know, will this happen? Won't this happen? The Chariot it's not a strong determinant. It's a strong and powerful card. And it means this energy continues to move in its direction. It continues to, so could it happen sooner? Maybe. Could it happen later? Maybe. But it's strong. It's strong and it's moving in the right direction. You know, I'm getting that it has to do with people's emotional response. So almost like when the collective, so we're right now, the emotional response is a little bit on the low side, meaning there's not enough people in the collective that are warmed up to the idea. But it's growing. You see, we've got the page is the young emotional responsiveness. The knight is the older, more mature emotional responsiveness. So as it gets, as more people get on board and are emotionally open and responsive to this idea, it comes into more clarity. So it's like a timing thing. I feel like this is the intention, and it's waiting for till the general consensus can hold that.
But the momentum is already there and you cannot stop the momentum.
Yes.
So it's almost like let's say like the marathon, like people, okay, maybe, I don't know. I use this, like I see this image, like people are like kind of running and then more people are coming to join.
Yes. Yes. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. And, you know, it's almost like we are still getting through this collective stress around change.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people are still really attached to the old. And, you know, I heard somebody describing it as, you know, clinging to the wreckage of the old. It's because they don't know what to go to next. And so there's something about being emotionally ready for something new. Look at this. You see this fellow, he stands looking at the globe. He looks out at all the options.
Number 2 or number 11?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Standing between the two ones, which makes the 11, right? The 11 portal. It's like being ready to see a whole new world. And, you know, part of it is human initiative. It's not just about being rescued by, you know, the bigger player, yes. Whoever it is. It's about
human form or not.
Yeah. And we are doing it. We're doing it. We're doing the hard work. Look at this. Like, so the Death card is about change that happens slowly. The 9 of Swords is about, you know, being awake at night, worrying, the anxiousness, that tremendous anxiety that's, you know, there's no way around it. We've just got to go through that dark night, each of us in our own time, in our own way. And until we're a little bit further along that path, there's the hermit holding the lantern.
Hold the light. Hold the line. Hold the light.
Hold the line. Hold the light. These are the 2 major arcana cards here, which are the heavy influencers. That Chariot that we saw, which was about the momentum is unstoppable, and hanging on and knowing which direction you're facing and what your truth is. It's a maturing process. And I feel like it has a lot, like we determine the timing of this. And it's not just us as a minority, a small group of people, it becomes the larger collective. So there's still some resolution underway that's hard to determine how long that's going to take. So when I ask about, is it March? That's not a clear answer that it's March. It could be, it might even be sooner.
It's gonna happen anyway.
There is definitely new growth in the spring, in March. So whether it's this exactly as we're seeing it right now, or a combination of factors, spring feels like most people are through that dark night of the soul, and they're on to feeling really emotionally ready to step through that 11 portal. So yeah, like the Knight of Cups is that more mature emotional resonance with the new.
It's like Ashala, people are dropping the chains. And I think a lot of people are realizing that we have been slaves all this time. And it was just an illusion of freedom. And, you know,
that's right.
On one hand, this, I think it was in August, not September, I think it was in August, 4.1 million people in United States quit their jobs. And this symbolizes something. I mean, it symbolizes that, you know, many things, like some of them, they don't want to be enslaved to the systems. Some of them, they prefer be on unemployment. I mean, cannot be if they quit, but I'm saying this coming to the point of breaking the chains, whatever form it is, it's in many different ways. And not everyone's, and I don't think ever everyone will understand that we have been enslaved for incredibly long time. This is not just in like 20th century or 19th century. We're talking this humanity as a concept of how we coexist was in slavery.
Yes, exactly. In my research over the years, it is actually over several thousand years. And the last 2000, you know, I mean, really, the Roman Empire was massive in developing that slavery system that went global, basically. But there were other players that were doing similar things prior to that, that led up to that. And, you know, we're still living in the aftermath, really, of the Roman Empire, the British Empire, and now the global empire.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
It's not going to happen. You know, it's like this, that anxiety that drives that hunger for power is being disassembled. That's what all this is about. That's about our collective initiation we're going through right now. You know, we're having to face that and go, well, what's worse? Like, you know, where does this end? We're in these smart cities, and then we don't even have like, what's the meaning of life? We're just being entertained and plugged in like the Matrix. And
yeah,
like what kind of life is that?
But now we know it, and before we didn't, right?
Yes, exactly.
The awareness. Anya. It's like the awareness is like, first is the awareness, and then it's now what?
Yes. And that's an exciting turning point. You know, it's like that sun that's trying to follow you across the room right now. It's like,
no, I'm like, it's so beautiful, but like,
but that's the awareness. It's like, it's coming for us, whether we want it or not.
The sun is very aware of me. So am I of the sun.
Yes.
So, I think we're gonna end here today.
Yes.
And I see Ashala very soon in the next 2 weeks, and I will have more questions. But if you are interested in connecting with Ashala, the link will be below. Ashala's channel as well, and she's very steady with her presence on YouTube, because every Sunday she posts like a Sunday sampler. It's a reading for the coming week, which I find very interesting, because when I listen to it, it's almost like she's reading for me. It resonates so much. So I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it as well. So thank you, Ashala.
Thank you, Anya.
Thank you for today. And anything else you want to add for the audience who really, really enjoys me talking to you?
Well, I really just want to end off with this piece about our earth mother, our earth home. And, you know, this is our opportunity. We've been disconnected because of forces either from without or from within that have caused us to disconnect in such a big way. And I feel like it's we've come to the end of that cycle, and it's time to turn around and go back home now. You know, and we won't, obviously we're not going to go home. It's not going to look like it did when we were, you know, indigenous people living up in the hills. But it could be even more profoundly beautiful. We're heading into the age of Aquarius, which combines that higher wisdom, almost like that off-world wisdom, with technology, but it's also very humanitarian and earth conscious. So what a thing to look forward to. Like, this is not where we're going is not scary, folks. It's beautiful.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
And we are always provided everything we need for the next step.
Truly.
Thank you, Ashala, so much. Lots of love to you and to everyone watching. And until next time.
Mm-hmm.